Picture it, 1960 at the Isle of Man TT. A Norton Manx motorcycle leans so low through Ramsey Curve that the rider's knee scrapes the tarmac. The bike is a masterpiece of British engineering, chrome engine gleaming, featherbed frame holding perfect lines. The rider crosses the finish line first. Again, the crowd roars. Norton has won the senior class for the 15th consecutive year. But within 2 decades, this same company would file for bankruptcy. Within 4 decades, it would happen again. By 2020, Norton motorcycles would be owned by an Indian company, built in India, and still unable to find stability. This is the story of how a legendary British motorcycle brand fell from racing glory to financial ruin, twice. James Lansdowne Norton founded his bicycle repair shop in Birmingham, England in 1898. He didn't start building motorcycles because he had some grand vision of revolution. He started because a customer asked him to. A man wanted an engine attached to a bicycle frame. Norton said yes. That first motorcycle engine, a Peugeot V-twin, barely worked. But it worked enough. By 1902, Norton was building his own engines. By 1907, he was winning races. The early Norton motorcycles were crude by today's standards, heavy, temperamental, prone to mechanical failure. But they had something the competitors didn't. They had hunger. Every weekend, Norton would strip down a bike, race it, learn what failed, and build something stronger. A Norton machine won the single-cylinder class at the Isle of Man TT in 1907. Then again, in 1909. The wins kept coming. The name Norton became synonymous with performance and reliability. British riders trusted Norton engines because Norton engines won, but the real transformation came after World War II. In 1946, Norton's chief engineer, a brilliant designer named Bert Hopwood, created something revolutionary: the featherbed frame. This wasn't just a metal cage to hold an engine and wheels. It was precision engineering. Curved tubes that distributed load perfectly. Suspension geometry that made corners predictable. A motorcycle that handled like nothing else on the road. Norton bolted their existing 700 cubic centimeters 4-cylinder engine into this frame and called it the Manx Norton. The Manx Norton became the most dominant racing motorcycle in history. From 1949 through 1960, it won the senior class at the Isle of Man TT 27 times. No other motorcycle from any manufacturer achieved that kind of dominance. A Norton Manx pilot could outbrake a Gilera, could outcorner a Matchless, could out-accelerate anyone foolish enough to challenge on the straights. The Japanese were still copying British designs. German manufacturers were still recovering from war. The Manx Norton was unquestionably the best racing motorcycle on Earth. The company rode this prestige straight into the 1960s. Norton released the Dominator line. Solid, reliable, middle-class bikes that sold well across Britain and export markets. They released the Atlas, powered by a 750cc twin-cylinder engine. Then the Commando 850. The Commando became the iconic Norton. Chrome everywhere. Candy-colored fuel tanks. A distinctive rubber-mounted engine that kept vibration away from the rider's hands. Motorcycle magazines called it beautiful. Riders called it fun. For a moment in the early 70s, the Commando was what you bought if you wanted a fast, stylish motorcycle from a company you trusted. But the 70s brought something Norton couldn't overcome. Japan arrived. Kawasaki released the Z1 in 1972. Honda released the CB750 in 1969. Triumph, Norton's British rival, was already struggling. These Japanese machines were cheaper. They were faster. They were more reliable. They started better in cold weather. They didn't require constant maintenance. They came with warranties that actually meant something. British motorcycle manufacturers had spent decades building bikes for enthusiasts who understood motorcycles, who expected temperamental machines, who enjoyed constant tuning and repair. Japanese manufacturers built bikes for regular people, for commuters, for people who wanted to turn a key and ride. By 1975, Norton was in crisis. Sales collapsed. The factory at Selly Oak, which had been building Norton motorcycles since 1913, was bleeding money. The company merged with Villiers and Triumph to form Norton. Villiers Triumph, or NVT. The idea was to combine three iconic British brands and compete with the Japanese. Instead, management killed the Triumph Bonneville. They killed the Triumph Trident. They poured resources into a rotary engine Norton that nobody wanted. The NVT merger was a catastrophe, a masterclass in how not to consolidate manufacturers. By 1978, Norton was bankrupt. The Selly Oak factory closed. Production moved to a smaller facility in Wolverhampton, then shut down entirely. The machinery that had built 27 Isle of Man TT winners was sold for scrap. The legacy was put in storage. British motorcycle manufacturing, which had once dominated global markets, was essentially dead. For a company to lose an entire empire in less than a decade was heartbreaking, but losing it once wouldn't be enough. Norton would lose everything again. The 1980s and 90s saw various revival attempts. A team led by Canadian engineer Kenny Dreer tried to revive Norton as a rotary engine specialist. The Norton Commander rotary actually showed promise. It was smooth, light, and innovative. But rotary engines never caught on with the public. Motorcyclists wanted piston engines. They wanted the feeling of pistons firing. A rotary felt alien. The revival failed. Norton was dead again. Then, in 2001, a UK company called Norton Motorcycles Limited was registered. A new owner, an entrepreneur named Stuart Garner, announced plans to build a new generation of Norton motorcycles. Modern designs, modern engineering, a brand resurrected from the ashes. For 2 decades, Garner promised. He showed prototypes, he showed design sketches, he announced collaborations with engine manufacturers. He took customer deposits. Thousands of customers paid deposits for Norton motorcycles that never materialized. The company built some bikes, a few hundred maybe, commando models with modern engines. They were expensive, slow to deliver, and rarely satisfied customers. But the real story wasn't about the bikes. It was about fraud. Stuart Garner and his associates were using customer deposits to pay personal expenses. Fancy cars, luxury holidays, hotel bills, company credit cards for personal shopping. Millions of pounds flowed into Norton accounts and then disappeared into personal bank accounts. The company was building bikes, yes, but it was also running one of British manufacturing's biggest scams. When the investigation finally came in 2019, it was shocking. Not because Norton was mismanaged, but because anyone had trusted it after 30 years of false promises. Garner was charged with fraud. Norton filed for bankruptcy again. Thousands of customers lost their deposits. The machinery orders were canceled. The factory was shuttered. The dream of a British motorcycle renaissance collapsed. Now here's where the story takes one final, strange turn. Because in 2020, during a global pandemic, during worldwide economic uncertainty, TVS Motor Company of India bought the Norton brand. They bought the rights, they bought the archives, they bought the right to build motorcycles wearing that iconic Norton badge. TVS Motor, based in Chennai, is a major Indian motorcycle manufacturer. They build millions of bikes every year. They know manufacturing, they know efficiency, they know how to bring costs down and quality up. The first TVS Norton motorcycles began rolling off production lines in 2022. The new Commando. modern technology, Indian manufacturing, British heritage. A fusion that some saw as hopeful and others saw as the final nail in Norton's coffin. And yet somehow the brand still exists. New Norton bikes are being built, new designs are in development, people are buying them. The factory hums with activity, just not in Britain anymore. The tragedy is complete. Norton didn't disappear. It just became something else entirely. If you found this story fascinating, please subscribe so you don't miss more deep dives into motorcycle history and the brands that shaped how we ride. Every motorcycle you see today was influenced by decisions made decades ago by engineers and business people. And some of those decisions led to brilliance, while others led to ruin. The rise and fall of Norton teaches us something important about innovation and trust. It's not enough to have done something great once. A company must keep doing it, must keep innovating, must keep earning the loyalty of customers. Norton won 27 Isle of Man TTs, then it won 0. That gap between achievement and decline happened in 10 years. A legendary brand became irrelevant in a decade. The Japanese didn't destroy Norton. Norton destroyed itself by refusing to change. So what's the current state of Norton motorcycles? Under TVS ownership, production has stabilized. Quality has improved. The company is actually building bikes that people want. Modern Nortons are sold in Europe, Asia, and slowly trickling back into America. Are they the same as the Manx that dominated racing in 1950? No, nothing is. But they carry the name. They carry the heritage. And somewhere in Birmingham, where James Lansdowne Norton first opened his shop in 1898, that still means something. The difference between a company that endures and a company that collapses often comes down to one thing: vision. Did the leaders understand where the industry was going? Did they invest in innovation? Did they respect the customer? Norton failed on all 3 counts during the Japanese invasion. Then it failed again when Stuart Garner treated the brand like a personal ATM machine instead of a legacy worth protecting. Now, under Indian ownership, Norton has a second chance at a second revival. Whether that ever leads to a Norton racing at the Isle of Man TT again, winning like it did in 1960, is uncertain. But the fact that the brand still exists, that new bikes still wear the Norton badge, that the machinery still turns and engines still fire, is itself surprising. The rise and fall and rise again of Norton motorcycles is a story about British engineering, Japanese innovation, corporate greed, and ultimately the power of a name to survive almost anything.